benefited the most from the partition of India? India, Pakistan, or the British? Here's the uncomfortable part. If you look at partition only as a creation of two countries, you miss the bigger story. Because in 1947, India didn't just lose territory, the entire geopolitical map of South Asia was rewritten, and some countries outside South Asia eventually gained enormously from that new map. Let's start with India. At independence, India inherited the largest share of British India's population, industrial base, administrative machinery, and infrastructure. A recent Cambridge Economic History of Modern South Asia notes that most manufacturing units were located in the territory that became India. Pakistan therefore began with a significantly weaker industrial base. But that doesn't mean India won. Partition. Far from it. The economic system of undivided India had been deeply interconnected. Punjab's agriculture and irrigation networks were split. Bengal's jute producing areas were separated from major industrial and commercial centers. Railways, ports, and trade routes were disrupted, and millions of people were suddenly refugees. Cambridge's latest economic history described partition's effects as subcontinental in scale, disrupting transport and river networks, destroying homes and property, and profoundly reshaping cities, including Delhi, Lahore, Calcutta, and Karachi. Then came something most people don't think about: the division of the state itself. The army had to be divided, the civil services had to be divided, government assets and liabilities had to be divided. Even institutions had to be classified as either Indian or Pakistani. Historian Anvesha Sen Gupta's research shows just how complicated this process was. So, India inherited more of the old economic machinery, but also inherited the enormous cost of rebuilding a country shattered by partition. Now look at Pakistan. Pakistan achieved the central political demand of the Muslim League, a separate Muslim majority state. But economically, it started from a much weaker position. Its two wings, West Pakistan and East Pakistan, were separated by roughly 1600 kilometers of Indian territory, and many of the major industrial and commercial centers of the former British Indian economy were now outside Pakistan. Yet Pakistan possessed something incredibly valuable: geography. Look at the map. Pakistan sits next to Afghanistan, Iran, the Arabian Sea, and close to the Persian Gulf and the Soviet Union's southern flank. And this became massively important after World War II, because the world was entering the Cold War. And this is where the story changes. Pakistan moved toward the Western Alliance system. In 1954, it joined SEATO. In 1955, it joined the Baghdad Pact, later known as CENTO, and declassified American documents. Washington understood that Pakistan's foreign policy was strongly influenced by its rivalry with India and Afghanistan. At the same time, the United States saw Pakistan as an important anti communist partner. American documents from 1957 describe Pakistan as the only Asian member of both SEATO and Baghdad Pact, while noting that its military buildup was being supported by the United States. So Pakistan had found something strategically valuable: leverage. Its geography made it useful to the West, and Pakistan received military and economic assistance in return. The United States itself later acknowledged that Pakistan's participation in SEATO was partly driven by its desire for support against India. So, did Britain create Pakistan for this purpose? This is where we need to be careful. The answer is not that simple. The demand for Pakistan came from the Muslim League. Congress and the Muslim League failed to reach a constitutional settlement. Communal tensions escalated. British exhaustion after World War II accelerated the transfer of power, and violence made the situation dramatically worse. So, saying the British simply created Pakistan to serve Western interests would be an oversimplification. Here's what we can say: Britain left South Asia in 1947, and within few years, Pakistan became strategically valuable to the Western Bloc. That is not speculation. The alliance relationships are documented, and India took a very different path. India chose non alignment. Instead of formally joining either Cold War camp, New Delhi tried to preserve strategic autonomy. That didn't mean India was neutral about everything. India built relationships with both sides, but it refused to become a formal military ally of the United States or Soviet Union. And from India's perspective, this mattered enormously because New Delhi wanted to remain free to make decisions based on Indian interests, not Washington's or Moscow's. So, who really benefited? If you are asking who got the stronger economic starting position, India had the advantage. If you are asking who got a sovereign homeland from partition, Pakistan achieved the central political objective behind its creation. If you are asking who paid the greatest immediate human price, ordinary Indians and Pakistanis did. Millions were displaced, hundreds of thousands and possibly far more like were killed in the violence. But if you are asking the most interesting question, who gained strategically from the new map, the answer is more complicated. Pakistan gained geopolitical leverage because of its location. The United States gained a strategically positioned Cold War partner, and Britain, although it had lost its empire, left behind a region whose strategic importance to the Western world remained enormous. But India inherited the larger economic base and then had to build a functioning democracy, integrate hundreds of princely states, absorb millions of refugees, and construct an independent economy while managing a hostile neighbor and a divided subcontinent. So perhaps the most accurate conclusion isn't India lost and Pakistan won or Britain won. It's this: partition created two new states, but it also created a new strategic game. Pakistan's geography became an asset, India's scale became an asset, and the Western powers learned how valuable South Asia's geography could be. But for the ordinary people who crossed that border in 1947, there was no strategic victory. There was simply a new line on the map, a life that would never be the